Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to sew two types of underbust corset, the one with the princess dart bustier and the one with the sweetheart neckline. As you can see, the one with the yoke. So let's get into the video. In my previous tutorial, I showed you how to draft this. If you've not watched the video, please go ahead and watch it. You can see this is the basque waistline. We cut it right at the underbust. These are the materials we're going to need. We need wadding, we need lining, we need the net for the yoke, and then we need the piece of fabric for this underbust corset. So we're going to go ahead and place this on the piece of fabric. We're going to place the pattern on the piece of fabric, add the necessary allowances and cut it out. I'm going to leave the link in the description box, so please go ahead and watch the video on how to draft two types of underbust corsets, because this tutorial is meant to show you how to sew those two types of underbust corsets. So as you can see, I'm adding allowances all around. Once I'm done, I'll go ahead and cut it out. I'm cutting out the yoke now. After cutting it out, we are going to go ahead and cut out the wadding so that we can pad the bustier, as you can see. So I've gone ahead and ironed the wadding so that I can pad the bustier. So now this is the under bust part. You can go ahead and iron soft gum stay or paper stay or anything you're comfortable with. I'm going to be showing you two ways of making your boning. That is why I cut two of the under bust parts or the under bust piece. So these are the lining pieces. As you can see, I've cut this out too as well. Don't forget to also iron soft gum stay on them. So now it's time to sew. So I'm going to turn this like so, and I'm going to place the good sides facing good sides. I'm going to sew that part. I'm going to do the same on this other part as well, and I'm going to sew. I'm going to do the same thing to the lining piece, and I'm going to show you how it looks. So I've sewn the main piece and the lining piece. Now we are going to add the yoke. So I'm going to bring the yoke now, and I'm going to remove the pattern paper from it. When you're handling yoke that is net or a skein net, please be very careful so that it wouldn't tear. So I'm going to place this sharp point on that point there. As you can see, I'm going to shift it inward a bit by 0.25 inch, and I'm going to align this all around the neckline, as you can see, all around, and ensure that it is even. And then I'm going to pin them down. So when you sew, you have to sew from the midpoint to the other side. When you want to sew, you're going to place your sewing machine needle right on that midpoint, and you're going to sew to that side first. Then you come back and then you pin the other side, and then you sew it up. This will ensure that it doesn't have any excess on any other side. As you can see, I've done that now. I've sewn one side, so I'm going to rearrange this. This is very good. This is very good for beginners. If you're a beginner, please don't skip this step. It's when you become a pro that you can actually put it all at once and sew it straight. But if you're a beginner, sew one side first, then rearrange it and then sew the other side. So as you can see, I'm done sewing the net on this. You can see the yoke, I'm done sewing it. So we're going to push this down. We're going to push this down and ensure that it's not in the way, and we're going to place the lining piece to sandwich it. So you're going to sew it from this other side where you can see the seams. That's where you're going to sew it. So you're going to align this properly and pin it up. But when you sew, you're going to sew from the side seams. This side you can see the seams. That is where you're going to sew it from. So I'm going to go ahead and pin it now. And one important thing you shouldn't miss is that when you are sewing it, you have to add this hemming glue so that when you're done sewing, you can easily iron it. So I've gone ahead and sewn this, as you can see, right on this part here. So we're going to go ahead and create notches all around. This is to make this part more relaxed. So please do not skip this step as well. And when you're done creating notches all around, please go ahead and top stitch. Top stitch really helps to put the fabric out of the way of the yoke so that the yoke will not be pulling it up. So please do not skip top stitching when you are done. If you are watching this video and you're yet to subscribe, please go ahead and subscribe and turn on post notifications so that when I post new videos, you will get notified. So I've gone ahead and top stitch, as you can see. So now we're going to turn this properly. As you can see how nice and lovely this is coming out already. After turning it out like this, we're going to go ahead and give this a good press, most especially at that neckline. Whenever you are using net as yoke, please be very careful. Don't iron your net directly. Place something over it before you iron the net, if you need to iron the net. So please be careful while sewing with net. So I've ironed it and you can see how nice and lovely this looks already. So we're going to go ahead and add our underbust piece. This is the first piece of the Ankara fabric. You can go ahead and make your boning casings with your bias. So this depends on what you want. You can use any coordinating color, but I'm going to be using black since the yoke is black. I cut out a second piece of the underbust piece because I want to be showing you two ways of making boning casings. So this is the second piece. This black fabric is doll face and this is the lining piece. So I'm going to place them on each other like so, and I'm going to sew the top right on the top there. Then when I'm done sewing the top, I'm going to create boning casings. So I'm going to mark the center front and then I'm going to mark some inches away from the center front just to sew right on it and create boning casings that the boning can pass through. As you can see, I'm marking it now, and remember I've sewn the lining piece to this already, so as I'm sewing it down, it's automatically creating boning casings. So I'm going to be sewing the bias on the Ankara fabric like so. So this is the doll face and the lining piece. You can put your boning casings or you can use your bias strip. As I told you earlier, anyone you feel comfortable using is your choice. You can just use anyone you want. So we're going to go ahead and place the underbust piece like so, and you're going to go ahead and sew it. So as you can see, I've sewn this. All I have to do now is to add my boning to the boning cases created. You can create as many boning casings as you want, or just be careful, because the more boning casings means that it will really snatch your waist and you may not be able to breathe. So I'm going to go ahead and change the down part into the Ankara. As you can see, I've changed it now, and this is how it looks. You can also add the boning casings into the bias strips that you have sewn. So make sure you tell me which one you prefer. Do you prefer going with a bold black color for your underbust corset, or you prefer using the same piece of fabric? Drop your comments in the comment section and tell me which one you prefer. So you can actually extend this line from the waist to a little bit towards the hip, but the only problem with that is that if you extend it towards your hip, you may not be able to sit down. So when you are drafting an underbust corset or corset generally, you have to be very careful. Always ask your clients what they are comfortable with, so that you can just do what they want. If they want the one that will extend towards the hip line, go ahead and do it. If they don't want that, if they want something that will be comfortable for them and they can breathe, then you can also do that too. So just listen to what your client wants and do just that. So we're going to go ahead and work on the Princess Darts underbust corset. So as you can see, I've already placed this on the piece of fabric and I've already cut this out. So I'm going to go ahead and pad this. I have a video on how to properly cut, pad and sew a Princess Dart bustier. I'll drop the link in the description box so that you go and see it. So I'm going to go ahead and pad this and iron it. So I'm going to show you how that looks. So this is it. I've padded this Princess Dart bustier. So I'm going to go ahead and sew it now. As you can see, I've sewn it, and I'm going to go ahead and add the underbust piece. But before I add the underbust piece, I am going to make boning casings, because yes, it's an underbust corset. The underbust piece of the corset has to have boning casings. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll show you how it looks. This is how it looks. I've also joined it to the main piece. You can see the reason why I did this style of boning is because it gives extra support to the bust. You can see that this is directly under the underbust, and so it gives a better support to the bust. So when you have a client who is on the busty side, I suggest you use this type of boning style for that client to help them to give extra support, and so that it can actually snatch their waist better. So these are the two types of underbust corsets. We've sewn them. All you have to do now is to make your basic back bodies and join them together. You can see how this corset is covering the bust completely. Your bust is not showing, your bust is not exposed. If my video has been helpful, please give this a like and a thumbs up. See you in my next video.